I walk through the shadow of death left to fear. This is a journey through the halls of hell.
Yes people, what is good? I am BA, back again with a little review for you, and this week I want to talk about the movie Trick or Treat. Now I feel like this movie came out in the 2000s and it didn't really get the respect it deserved. It went below a lot of people's radars and didn't seem to get promoted that much by anyone, or I never saw it promoted anywhere, ever. It was written by a guy called Michael Dougherty, and I liked this film so much that I had infinite faith that Michael Dougherty was going to go on and do a bunch of dope things. He wrote one of the Superman movies and he's done a few other things, but nothing that he's done since for me has lived up to this, the initial film I saw, which was written by him. It's an anthology horror, and I would go so far as to say it's my favourite anthology horror movie of all time. I do think there are some brilliant anthology TV series out there which give it good competition, such as, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, etc. But when it comes to anthology movies, I don't even think Creepshow, writing-wise and consistency-wise, holds up as strongly for me as this does. And I know that's sacrilegious. Creepshow is such a classic, the lighting is so unique, the stories are lifted from the original EC comics, but yeah, just for me, Trick or Treat's a progression of that tradition and done well. We follow 4 stories, and each of the 4 stories take place on the same Halloween night in the same town, and I'm always an advocate for setting your movie or TV show around a season. Now, every movie and TV show can't be focused on a season, otherwise you'd only get like 3 types of film, Halloween, Christmas and Easter movies or something. But I do think when it's done right, it can add a new aesthetic layer in the background that you can play with and just add elements of it into it when you want, but you don't need to overemphasize the fact. And this taking place on Halloween is of course perfect traditional for a horror movie, but it also adds a lot of things into the mix which you couldn't get away with on any other day of the year. If a masked killer is walking around on Halloween, he blends in with everyone else on Halloween, for example. So it's a good place to set horrors because it allows evil people to merge more seamlessly with the camouflage. There is kind of 5 stories, I guess, because we get a little intro story focusing on a couple taking down the Halloween decorations the day after Halloween, but that's more of an intro story. But the 4 main stories we focus on are a group of children going down to a river to hear about the local legend of a school bus that went over the bridge there and everyone died on it. So they've brought them down to this dark river at night underneath a bridge just to retell this ghost story about the children who died that day. Then across town we've got a father who's clearly a serial killer who's both having to babysit his son, answer the door to trick-or-treaters, and every now and again go back into his back garden and continue digging a hole for the body he's buried. So it's this guy trying to keep that masquerade of suburban life up while at the same time doing something horrific, while at the same time trying to be a good dad, while at the same time giving out Halloween candy. That guy is spinning a lot of plates. Then there's a story that focuses on this woman who's a virgin who's going into the woods for a party and she's dressing up and there's a man seemingly following her to the woods. So this whole story is about this innocent little girl and will she be okay or not? There's some evil dude following her and her friends into this party in the middle of the woods on Halloween. Another very good story. And the last story to complete the 4 actually stars Brian Cox, legendary actor. He was the original Hannibal Lecter amongst many other things, and he basically plays the Scrooge. He's the old man who doesn't answer his door to kids trick-or-treating. He doesn't like the traditions of Halloween and doesn't respect any of it, and because that, he is visited by Samhain, the spirit of Halloween itself, and he is terrorized throughout the night by this evil spirit of Halloween. And because you get those 4 stories, and it's not the longest movie, it's an hour and a half, it's a movie length, but 4 stories going between that time, everything feels so satisfyingly smooth and seamless and not slow or draggy, while at the same time not being rushed or too quick. It's 4 very good, well-written short stories which tie together nicely, all taking place on the same evening. But my favourite thing about this movie, to be honest, is I've always been a punchline person. I've gravitated towards punchlines my entire life. You know, I was a battle rapper for a large portion of my life, and it's very similar to roast comedy. So a lot of my life was just sat looking at a paper, thinking of subjects, and figuring out how to manufacture these subjects into heavy-hitting punchlines in order to have the maximum effect and a great crowd response. That's what I did. It's kind of my specialty, and whenever a film can do punchlines like that, I gravitate towards them. I gravitate towards punchlines in every medium, basically. And this film is just classic Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, short, sweet stories, but every single one of them has a pretty clever punchline, a very good twist to it. Nothing is as it seems or surface level on this, and there'll always be a little something extra at the end of each story you weren't anticipating. And it's a hard and almost strange phenomenon, punchline writing. You know, it's not easy. Ask M. Night Shyamalan. You might have thought he was a genius for his first 4 films, but if you go back through the EC Comics archive, you can tell people like him and Steven Spielberg read them growing up, because the majority of his twists and some of Steven Spielberg's premises all came from these comics, which predated their movie careers by a long time. And these EC comic writers and all these old school comic writers, I don't know how they did it, but they could pull punchlines out of absolutely every situation possible. So before you go thinking that's the best twist of all time, that movie director is a genius, always cross-reference that there isn't a twist similar to it in EC Comics first. Trust me, they covered a lot of ground and they are actually geniuses. They thought of most of the twists we've seen throughout the last 100 years of cinema before they were filmed in their comics. I promise you. And as I said earlier, seasonal movies, when done well, will always heighten the material, and the Halloween night thing really heightens this film. There's just jack-o'-lanterns and oranges everywhere, people in traditional witch and ghost costumes. It definitely gets you into that mood for a fun horror sort of movie experience just by the sort of fun aesthetic that the town itself is displaying while you're watching it. It's all the funnest parts about Halloween, you know. This film isn't trying to show you horrific amounts of gore and lots of blood and blood-curdling screams and innocent people being slaughtered. It's really not trying to be that. It's trying to be a fun, spooky, scary, clever Halloween film. And yes, there is some violence, but I don't even think this movie has the, you know, highest rating upon release. I think it's like the second highest for people around the age of 15 and stuff. So yeah, genuinely not that violent. It's just more the cleverness of it that keeps me interested in this movie. And I don't know what Michael Dougherty's doing with himself nowadays, but ever since this came out, I hoped and prayed he would take the time to sit down and pen a little sequel, even if it was a 4TV movie. It's also kind of tragic because the actual character he created for this, you know, his little monster that he creates for this film, is the spirit of Halloween, Sam Hain. And I think he's got a really unique character design we hadn't seen before, and to only utilise such an iconic looking character to me in the one movie is a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have really turned it into a little franchise if they'd have pumped out a few cheaper but equally as well written movies around this franchise. I guess one of the reasons it maybe never did as good as it could have done is because if you're making a Halloween horror movie, you're intrinsically competing with the horror movie Halloween, which basically has that date all to itself. It's synonymous with it. Everybody knows Halloween the movie, so yeah, I guess Trick or Treat maybe got left at the wayside a little bit. Or maybe some people just don't think it's as good as I genuinely do. Let me know in the comments. But me personally, I think this is one of my favourite horrors of the last 30 years and the best anthology horror movie ever put to screen. So yeah, if you've never seen this movie and you like your scary movies, but for genuinely good, interesting, creative writing rather than, you know, seeing somebody's organs, give Trick or Treat a watch. Anytime I think of my favourite movies ever, Trick or Treat is one of the first horrors that comes to mind. And if you've liked this review, click like, leave a comment to talk to me, subscribe, share this video around, do what you can to support, or come and help support me personally. Join my Patreon. Come talk to me through DMs, recommend me stuff, all of that goodness, and help me keep this channel going with a little bit of support. And until next time, I've been BA. Peace.